I have a whole truck full of mini split today, but those are for later. For the moment, we're dropping by a gentleman. He just had a Gree Flexx E put in his home and said it's been a couple of days. Temperature's never really stabilized. It's blowing out what feels like kind of cool air, but not really. So we'll drop by and see what we can find for him. It could be any number of things. Those Flexx E's are the, I guess, light version of the Flexx inverter systems. They are pretty interesting little units. It is technically an inverter, but the unit on the outside is set to only have a few static speeds instead of being a complete inverter where it can do any number of speeds or percentages at once. So we'll stop by and see what we can find for him, and hopefully get him straightened out with his new unit. There we go. This guy is moving a lot of airflow, so it is obviously in its higher mode right now. So that makes me think it's probably not a refrigerant issue if it's able to kick up into high speed. It is displacing, I can even feel it from here, a good amount of heat. So because it is moving a lot of heat through itself and obviously running on a higher speed, let's see that little guy. So if we do come back here and check it, we'll probably go the other way. But what this strikes me as is there's probably an issue with that unit. Either I've seen it before, probably running the heat strips, but let's take a look and see. Could just be as easy as a little wiring boo-boo. Let's see what we got in here. So we do know we're running in air conditioning mode because we do have condensation for sure down here, and that is a good idea to, when you do an install, always watch this new or older piping, because it does get a little brittle and heat damaged. And I'm not sure if they broke it with the glue right there or what the story was, but we do have a little bit of leakage. As for up here, we'll just amp out our main line coming in. We do indeed see 42 amps, give or take. So that is telling us our heat strips are indeed running, which is kind of what I was thinking. That's nice. And we'll just throw that on the ground. Let's see what we have. And I already see the problem. Our white wires, which are run to the W2 on our thermostat downstairs, are in the D terminal on these Gree systems. The D terminal is actually defrost, just in case you were not running heat strips. It essentially allows this blower to shut down to not air condition the home while it's trying to defrost in heating mode. So if you wire to that D terminal, you're essentially shutting down the blower on a call for defrost and running the outdoor unit. So if we look a little further, we see that our yellow wire for Y1 is tied to W2/auxiliary, which those two yellow wires being attached together on a call for cooling tells the outdoor unit to run. However, being attached to the W2 terminal on our board, or on our terminal block there rather, essentially is telling our unit to, hey, we're trying to heat with auxiliary heat, so turn on our strips. So essentially the way this is wired, any call for operation is going to, seizure warning, is going to run the heating and the cooling in AC mode. Our B terminal, which would be reverse into, let's see, where's, yeah, our B terminal is hooked up correctly, so it is in the right spot. It does have a place for it on our terminal block there to let the system know it's supposed to be operating as an AC. However, with it also energizing W2, we're basically heating and cooling at the same time. So let's switch these back around. That Y wire does not actually need to be attached to this particular unit. It is just supposed to be a bridge between here and the outdoor unit, and it knows whether it's a cooling or heating appliance at any given moment based on the call for fan operation and the call for either heating or cooling on that B wire. But we'll get this straightened out and see what we get. That is our electrical heat strips chattering because we're disconnecting the power to it. So those guys, we will just add a nice little wire nut to it. And that was all the installers had to do. We're all in place. This D terminal we're not going to use, but we'll just tighten the screws so it doesn't fall out. But we'll check. Common to green, 24 volts. Common to B. And whoops. .24 volts for outdoor unit. Okay, we straightened out our wiring. Let's just double check. And we are no longer drawing 42 amps, so our electric heaters are not running, just our blower motor in this particular case. Our line is cool to the touch, so we are running in cooling. I will fix that drain line, but all in all, that's all it amounted to on this particular one. I'll try not to seizure mode you with my light again. But these guys are very, very difficult to read, especially in lighting such as that. It's not really stenciled on there, and however they apply the marks to them, it is fairly illegible unless you're right up on top of them or know what you're looking at. So is a common mistake. I do see that a lot with these Gree units. But just something to keep in mind. Do pay attention to your wiring. All right, nobody worry, racetrack acquired. On that particular unit, the things to watch out for that I've seen on those Grees, especially in the wiring, the terminal block, I don't know if it's a laser etch process they do or they just lightly score it, or if that's actually paint on there, but whatever the process may be, the luminosity of it as you actually hit it with a flashlight to try to read it just basically washes it out. The plastic reflects just about as much light as the demarcations on it. So I do see that a good bit where the wiring gets somewhat confused or they're one off or what have you. The little C terminal on there almost looks like an O half the time. So it is something to watch out for. Those are definitely B units on the reversing valve. That particular one, the Y wire, or essentially compressor coil wire, does not actually attach to that air handler at all. It's just a junction point between the thermostat wire running to the air handler and the outdoor unit. So just a little wire nut takes care of that. On that one, whomever installed it accidentally put the Y wire into the W2/auxiliary terminal, which anytime there was a call for heating or cooling, it would have always turned on the electrical heaters, and that's exactly what was going on. On the other side of that, we didn't actually see it in operation because it was not trying to run in heat from the thermostat, but the W2 wire coming from the thermostat was going into the D terminal. That is also something I see a lot because the outdoor unit has all the standard low voltage connections, and instead of a W2 there's a D. Everybody thinks, oh, defrost, which you would be correct. However, on the air handler itself, there's also a D terminal, so now you have a W2 and a D terminal. The point of that would be when that unit goes into defrost, they're not necessarily wanting to blow cold air on the occupants. So when your outdoor unit goes into defrost, energizes its D terminal. If you have that D terminal hooked up upstairs, turns off the blower to keep from blowing cold air. A lot of people make the mistake of running the W2 wire from the thermostat to that D wire as well. And what you end up doing, your heat pump works great. Just as soon as it tries to turn on the auxiliary heaters from the thermostat, shuts down the blower. And I can't tell you how many calls I've had with new Gree units where you get there, turn it on, everything looks great, refrigerant looks great, it's heating really well, scratch your head, and the customer says, well, it works fine, and then all of a sudden at night it just turns off for no apparent reason. That's because it's finally hit the point where the auxiliary heaters want to come on, shuts the unit down, or shuts the blower down. Outdoor unit is still getting a call to run as a heat system, runs until it overpressurizes or throttles itself down, and then it shuts down. So then you have nothing until you turn the thermostat off or turn it back up slowly till you get a degree or two. So I do catch that a good bit. It is definitely something to pay attention to on those Gree units, but pretty easy fix. Just moved some wires around and had him happy, and we'll move along to the next one.